Does doing the right thing come at the cost of business performance? Can ethics and profit coexist? Welcome to the Human Conversation podcast. Join host Kaumadi Gowda for candid conversations with industry luminaries as we navigate the maze of decision-making in today's global workplace. Each episode offers a window into the minds of leaders achieving remarkable outcomes while balancing diverse priorities and stakeholders. Tune in for thought-provoking insights and actionable strategies on leading with ethics every day. Because in the pursuit of excellence, integrity matters.
Susan Caesar is a strategist, storyteller, and systems leader working at the intersection of artificial intelligence, human development, and the living world. She serves as the Director for Artificial Intelligence at the International Coaching Federation, where she leads the responsible integration of AI across a global community of more than 60,000 coaches. Susan guides ICF's AI strategy for 2026 and beyond, ensuring that emerging technologies strengthen human capability, elevate professional standard, and uphold the dignity, agency, and well-being of people worldwide. Susan is also the founder of Humane.org, a non-profit advancing life-centered leadership and innovation. Her work at Humane.org champions two core commitments: women leading with life and innovation that regenerates the natural world. Through applied research, thought leadership, and cross-sector partnerships spanning technology and conservation, she's helping redefine progress in the service of both humanity and the planet. She hosts the Humane.org podcast, a storytelling platform featuring global voices who are imagining how technology, nature, and society can flourish together. As a writer and speaker, Susan explores ethical innovation, regenerative futures, and the cultural transformations needed to usher in a truly life-centered era. In addition, Susan is the co-founder of the Lead with Purpose movement, created with Donna Potts McKenzie, which delivers leadership programs for community colleges, including Harper College, and future of work pathways for organizations navigating rapid transformation. Across her work in strategy, storytelling, and systems change, Susan's purpose is clear: to help people, organizations, and technologies lead with wisdom so that human potential, innovation, and the living planet can thrive together. A very warm welcome to you, Susan. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thank you, Kaumadi. I'm delighted to be here, and I've watched some of your other shows, and I feel that I'm at home.
Thank you. You've had such an interesting career: customer experience, digital transformation, AI. As a corporate executive, advisor, thought leader, podcaster, to name just a few. Is there a red thread that ties all of it together for you? I want to know what's the driving force behind all that you do, Susan.
Well, if I look back when I was a child, I felt that everybody should be having the same opportunities, and I wanted to play football. And as a girl, I wasn't allowed to play football. I wanted to do woodwork, but as a girl, I wasn't allowed to do woodwork. Instead, they wanted me to go into sewing, and I don't want to do sewing. Anyway, so for me, that as a child, I was going, well, why? I want to have equity, equality. So that was a driving force, if you think. And then early on in my career, I was a creative. So I learned how to be a graphic designer. And that for me was about creating pieces that evoked emotion. And then I was interested in emotion. And so I think the driving force for me has been around that. It's people-centric, something about treating people equally and with respect. And also emotion. Like for me, emotion is at the root of action. So how we feel affects what we believe and what we then do. And then as I grew through my career, I went from being a creative into being operational. So I ran customer and employee operations, and I was using technology in a way that gave people better experiences to create the environment and the the interactions that created positive emotions. Because if you've got happy customers and happy staff, then you've got a more profitable business. So I learned that life and business is all about relationships. And I'm committed to making business and society more human.
With that curious, compassionate little Susan, be pleased with all the work you've done. It's been such an evolution, creative, operational, and now AI, and really leading across industries and regions to bring a global coalition together.
Well, I think my little Susan would be proud of what I've achieved. However, I still don't feel that we have equity or equal opportunities for people. So that's why I advocate for DEIB. So I'm really passionate about having diversity in the room, because actually it's better for decision making. The more diverse people and ideas that you have and voices, the stronger the solutions. So actually there's a good reason why I care about that. But also when you look at women leaders across organizations, governments, etc., we are still not in places where we have the same level of opportunity to influence what happens in the world. And I believe that should change. And little Susan would still be wanting that to happen in the world.
I've noticed there's a strong passion for equity and emotional intelligence. And that is uncommon and also incredibly powerful to bring that lens that you do in all of these spaces that you've worked with. You've worked with extraordinary global leaders, some initiatives and organizations that have transformed the world, some sunrise sectors like AI. What makes you believe so strongly that concepts like equity, emotional intelligence, human centered design, why do you believe they're so important and should be at the core of all these transformational things that are happening around us?
Well, I guess all of the transformation for me, change is a constant. And if I think about my career has been around that intersection between people and whatever the emerging technology is, and using that in a way, because I've worked in global organizations, so it's been about how you leverage that intersection of human connection and technology to do the right thing by customers, employees at scale. And when I think about ethics and integrity in that space, it is all about honoring our shared humanity. So when we are thinking about making changes in organizations or deploying these technologies, it should be there to serve the people. It should be there to add more value to what the purpose of that organization is and what the customers or the citizens that they're serving, how they get more of what they're expecting from that organization. And very often it's in that space that organizations don't think through the implications of what they're doing, and they may deploy things because everybody else is. A bit like at the moment, AI is the hot thing, and so people are deploying AI without necessarily thinking about how it's changing the experiences that people have, why they're deploying AI, what's it there to serve. I think that's part of the red thread for me, is about ethics and integrity, helps us deploy things or make decisions that are good for humanity. And I think also acting with empathy, honesty, and respect should be happening in every relationship. So in every moment, I used to talk about when in organizations, like every decision, every transaction should be supporting and reinforcing the brand values of that organization. And in the wider context, it should be supporting and reinforcing empathy, honesty, and respect, dignity for people.
Those words resonate so strongly with me, Susan. One of the reasons why I'm so drawn to the work you do, you have a fabulous podcast as well where you enumerate on some of these ideas. It's such a powerful thing. At the same time, it feels that the pendulum is swinging away at the moment from these ideals, which must be at the core in order for all of us to have a sustainable and safe future. Do you feel that it is feasible for business leaders, brand managers, product managers, innovators of the world to be able to prioritize human dignity, human rights, concepts like these as they are looking at some of the tough trade offs today, breakthrough innovations, scaling up, profitability, shareholder value, at a time when a lot of organizations are feeling that their continued existence is at peril. It is either show profit or perish. This seems to be the driver why a lot of organizations are swinging away from the human-centered values that you're advocating and that I resonate so strongly with. Do you feel it's possible today for those leaders feeling that pressure to nevertheless fight that tide and show success and survive this?
Well, I think they have to, in that the tide is turning. So if you think about the younger generations that are coming through, I mean, some not even at work age yet, but they are going to care about what happens to their set themselves. So I think if you think about it right now, I believe in 2025, we have become disconnected from ourselves, disconnected from each other, and disconnected from the world that we live in. And there's lots of data points to evidence why that statement might be true. If you think about how we've lost trust in all of the institutions, how we, the level of need for well-being, etc. And then if you think about the planet, just all of the indices that we track to show how we are treating the world that we live in and the other creatures that we share the world with. So I think there's a lot of evidence to say that we need to change. And I think with AI coming, I think there is the opportunity to change, because now we're going to be able to, well, I think leaders need to be standing back and really thinking about the long-term sustainability of their organization and how it is treating its people and the world, because the younger generations are going to ask those questions, and they will be working with or making choices about who they work with based on whether or not that organization mirrors their own purpose or their own beliefs in what we should be doing in the world. So I think it is possible. I think it is happening. I personally am advocating for that in my organization, Humane Org. For me, it's all about helping women leaders, advocating for them, and then helping leaders make choices that are good for the people that work with them, the societies and the communities they're part of, and ultimately what we're doing to our planet.
I love that. I particularly appreciate it because I've had the opportunity to collaborate with you on a few of these wonderful initiatives, that you have both a spectacular breadth of vision, but also a great eye for detail. And that's an unusual combination. It's also a powerful one. In all of your experiences, has there been one that jumps out in your mind that challenged your sense of ethics and integrity? I'd love it if you could share something and what you learned from that experience, because I think it will shine a light for others who are similarly grappling with ethical dilemmas and asking themselves, can I survive this by doing the right thing?
It's hard to make a selection, if you like, because I've, in corporate life, especially as a female, growing up as I have done in the last 20 years in corporates, there's been a lot of experiences that have not been positive. In the beginning of my career, women weren't treated fairly, I don't think, and I experienced that. And then more latterly, I think organizations really have grown so big and hierarchical, and it really doesn't fit what the world needs today. And COVID was a good example of that, how we had to completely pivot what organizations are. Anyway, through all of that, I've chosen not to work in a corporate now. I work for ICF, the International Coaching Federation, and I am helping that organization elevate coaching, because I believe coaching is a way to help the future. And I've set up Humane also to advocate for women leaders and the planet. So when I think back, the reason why I've decided not to go into corporates is because as a leader in those spaces, I've had to make difficult ethical decisions where I've faced, leading through layoffs. I've worked in the tech industry, and that's often been the first place that layoffs happen. And I mean, I've had to do it, or I've done it because I've been a leader in those organizations, so I've understood why the business needed to do it. However, the effects that has on people, their livelihoods, the families that they have, the communities that they're part of, I found that a difficult ethical dilemma. And it therefore shaped my conviction that we can and must do business differently. And that's why I've set up Humane Org. It is human-centered leadership. It's where ethics and empathy and dignity and accountability guide every decision. And it's the same with ICF. I'm here because I believe coaching in every walk of life, if people have access to coaching, then it helps us be better people, better leaders, and therefore it's the ripple effects of what that can do in society. So that's the consequence of my ethical dilemmas. I believe I'm in a much better space now and feel I'm in flow as a person, and I hope to influence other people in those spaces so that they can help organizations heal.
That's so admirable. I've often found in my experience that people who have suffered harm or been wounded often emerge with greater compassion and a greater determination to make the world a better place, to heal the world as they heal themselves. And it's so powerful that you're doing this through all the various organizations and initiatives you're leading. I have the privilege of working with you on the AI coaching coalition that you are putting together across different organizations and regions. Um, Given what you just said, it's a perfect segue to actually ask you, as an expert on responsible humane AI, what are your observations on real world ethical dilemmas most relevant today? And what would your advice be to professionals grappling with such situations?
Well, I think at the moment we have a power imbalance, and I believe that will get resolved. But right now you've got the power of a few impacting the many. I don't see the influences. The governments could be influencing this, but they are not at the moment. But I think there are some signs, some signals that is changing. So the attorney generals in the US have just issued a lawsuit against the main platforms, asking for them to fix the technology in terms of its do no harm and hallucinations. And they're using the Consumer Protection Act to do that. So I think there are signs that it is starting to happen, which is a good thing. I also, earlier on, I mentioned the breakdown of trust. And this is in many aspects of our lives. And, the fact that whether it's in a business as lead or in organizations and leaders, whether you're a leader in a community or a educational establishment or a business, you're faced with perpetual volatility at the moment and complexity. And we as consumers also feel that. We feel there's a need to act with speed, like we've got to get on that train, and we've got to make some decisions. So that doesn't really bring out the best in our human brain. We're not really deploying both parts of our brain to help us step back and think about, well, actually, what's right for me in this moment, and how might I make the right kind of decisions that helps the organization, the people that work with me, the wider community. How can I be more present in that? So how might I advise leaders to help themselves with this? Hire a coach, for sure, right? If you haven't got a coach in your life right now, I would advocate for getting one. And I believe coaching is really a human practice. And so you may be using AI tools to spar on ideas around your goals, your life, etc. But that is not the same experience as working with a coach. So if you haven't tried it, I would try it, because what coaching does, it helps you pause, slow down, have presence, reflect. It enables you to zoom out, and then you become much better at thinking through and making decisions that actually have the right impact now, but are also good for the longer term.
That's fascinating. As a futurist and a technologist yourself, your observation is that a human coach would be a absolutely vital partner. You're saying technology can be assisting that process, but cannot entirely replace a human element.
No, I actually think the human element becomes more important, because if you think about it, so if you think about yourself, so this is like human-centered, isn't it? If you put yourself in the center of all of these changes that are happening around you, all the decisions you need to make, all the tools that you have access to. How do you make sense of all of that? Well, if you've got another human alongside you that is, trained in coaching and is an expert at how to be present in that moment with lived experience, with wisdom, with all of the groundedness that coaches have, they will help you make sense of everything that's around you, everything that you're experiencing, in order that you can make the decision about, well, what's the right pathway for you? What's your purpose? And how do you get from where you are today to where you want to be? I think that coach is your guide.
That's powerful. And how can coaches themselves, and I am one as well, I belong to the wonderful ICF community, the International Coaching Federation community. For coaches in that ecosystem around the world, what would your advice be on how we can partner with and use technology to enhance the support and service we provide to individual leaders, to organizations, to societies we serve?
Well, I think AI offers us a few opportunities. Its strengths are in the fact that it solves problems faster than we can. It can automate repetitive tasks, and it can uncover insights that we may not have seen or could not see. So if we've got blind spots, for instance, it can shine a light on those blind spots. So if you think about how you might leverage AI, it's going to enable you to have a lot of insights and data that can give you a kind of temperature check on what's happening around you. And it can spot patterns, and it can show how you might be impacting those patterns. And then you can look at that to decide, well, what decisions, what choices are there, and what would be the right one for us to make in that moment.
That's
And so I think AI really is a partner. It's there to help you not only have the right kind of insights to make decisions or take actions, but it's also enabling you to scale. So the more that you can leverage AI to automate repetitive tasks, or the things that keep you away from being present with your client, the more time you have with your client.
I love that. I'm fascinated by the give and take that your vision that you're painting, that in a way, technology can help coaches be more present. And at the same time, the coaches can help leaders and organizations ensure that technologies, emerging technologies, existing technologies are more human centered and maybe possibly even inform the de-biasing that needs to happen both in all the systems and processes we already have and those that are still in development.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, definitely. And I know another area that people are concerned about is the bias within the technologies. And I know already people are working at understanding how much of that is true and where does it come from and how might we fix it. So there was a post that I shared on LinkedIn this weekend around the research that Harvard have done in that space. So I think the more that we are aware where there are problems, the more we are, and how they make the root cause of those problems. I think and I believe that humanity will be ingenious and find ways to solve for those so that we still can take the benefit of and value from these discoveries of AI. So what AI is doing in the world, it's not going to go away. I think it's going to get better and better the more that we understand how we can harness it for our good.
And Susan, you talked about government oversight and legislative interventions in the US and how that's useful. You lead global initiatives, and in many parts of the world, law and legislation hasn't caught up. Technology is developing too fast for regulatory guardrails to be sufficient, adequate, or even predictive enough. In your observation, what are some other things individuals, organizations, nonprofit organizations, and initiatives like the kind you lead? What role can they play in ensuring that the kind of work needed that you're pointing out, whether it's debiasing, prioritizing human rights, inclusion, those kinds of important aspects? How can NGOs, individual leaders, corporates maybe even, uh, play a role and support this where governments and legislations are not yet adequate?
Well, I think the first thing is we can't be passive. We have to be active in this space. So if I use myself as an example, you have to educate yourself. You have to become aware of what the challenges are, what the opportunities are, and really understand what's surfacing. And I think from that point of view, then you have an obligation, no matter what role you have. Your obligation is twofold. One is public awareness. So if you are in a space where you can help others understand and keep safe, then we should. So in my role, I am fortunate, and I am able to have a public awareness responsibility. And so I do want to start a campaign that allows us to, talk about do no harm, talk about how people using AI for experiences of companionship, etc., what the implications and the things to watch for are. I also think that in that public awareness space, it's about advocating for people to really read the service agreements. I know we've gotten ourselves into a habit where we scroll, and then just accept the terms and conditions of apps. But that, I don't think that that's fair. And I also wonder actually if we should be advocating for organizations to develop different types of ways for the service agreements, because they aren't necessarily robust in the way that we are using them today. So that's the public awareness piece. And then I think you have an obligation wherever you are impacting the world. So whatever position you're in, if you're working with other people who the opportunity to leverage AI, and everybody does, it's helped them on their pathway to experiment with it, play with it, gain curiosity around it, and then become practical users of AI. So as much as we can do that. And so in my role, I will be doing more to create educational courses, online activities, and also probably a playground somewhere where somebody can play with the tools in a way that's safe. And also as part of my role, I have already got the AI standards and framework in our code of ethics, which provides guidance to people that are building technology in the coaching profession. But I want to do more in that space. So I want to find smarter ways to vet and validate other people's technology so that I can provide assurances to our 62,000 members on which of the products that are being built for coaching, how do we assess them? And how do they make decisions about which ones are right for them?
I love that 3-step blueprint. You're talking about self-education, be vigilant and proactive in actively seeking curiously different things to learn, that at an individual level, whether it's leaders or organizations, they are adept and leaning towards learning. The second thing you're talking about is actively participating in public awareness to enhance overall all of our collective understanding of these emerging technologies. And the third one is that every single individual can feel and lean into the responsibility of helping others adopt and embrace the AI and any other emerging technology, how important that is to do that as a collective. You talk the language of the younger generations, the next generations that are perhaps not even yet in the workforce. And I think everything you say and do speaks to that. If those in that generation, those generations are listening now, what would your advice to them be, whether in the choice of education, the kinds of things they choose to level up on? I'm asking this with a specific context, Susan. I have young high schoolers at home. One of the things I am following with concern is the fact that entry-level jobs are set to be deeply impacted by some of this newer technology. Given that, do you have anything to say to the youngest generation?
Well, to have hope in that, if you think about the last 40 years, 50 years, if you think about all of the changes that humanity has come through, each of the technological changes, even though people have been fearful of them and skeptical of them, they've all ended up doing good things for humanity. So this is a change. Yes, it is more significant because of the scale and speed. I think just to remain hopeful in humanity and their place within it. And then to guide them, I would say, what's in your heart? Follow your heart. I didn't necessarily do that in the beginning of my career because I wanted to be a vet. And so, my choices have been very different. However, I'm circling back to do the right thing by the planet, which I think satisfies that need where I wanted to be a vet. So, yeah, follow your heart, because that's the thing that's going to propel you in your mission, in your purpose, in your life. And a career is just one part of that life. It's not the whole thing. And then thinking about the future, well, AI is transforming everything that we do, our lives, our work, how we play even. And it's a technology that is going to be moving fast. So if you are somebody who's interested in technology, the spaces of cybersecurity, the spaces of how money might get disrupted in the future, the kind of guardrails and how we understand the ways in which we can make AI transparent and how humans can understand more of what's going on in the black box, if you like. I think those are spaces that there are going to be jobs in the future. If you're not a technologist, then I think thinking deeply about the human aspects of the world in the future, because we need the human infrastructure to really make sense of and create value and unlock possibility from the technology. The technology is not going to do it on itself. It needs humans doing that. So you could be a coach, because that's a great place. I think coaches and AI are the way that we together design the future. So being a coach, I think, would be a great choice, and not a lot of young people know it to be a profession. So explore it. It's a good opportunity, and you can do it at any age. So coaching. And then if it's not that type of thing, then think about the spaces that AI needs humans to be active. So that would be in ethics, in integrity, in DEIB, all of these spaces where the AI isn't going to do it, but we need lots of humans to be thinking about those things, are spaces. And I think creativity is still, the curiosity of a human mind and the innovation, joining the dots in different ways. AI can't do that, and therefore finds paths that enable you to think like that, and how you might create strategies or blueprints for organizations or communities, and really join all of those dots and leverage AI to enable it. I was on a call last week talking about how we might use AI for rural resilience and saving the planet and climate change. So if you can create a connection between the green ethics and the climate change and our green economy and AI, I think that again offers some future job opportunities.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Netherlands is the leading proponent of that sustainable and equitable economies and the donut economics that they had propounded quite a while back. It's impacted how, as society, they've restructured themselves. I love that advice to the youngest humans we have. You're talking about, one is be optimistic. I love that because it comes through in everything you say and do, Susan. Second, you're saying follow your heart. And third, you're offering excellent pathways. If one is inclined towards technology, we have things like financial forensics, lots of different paths within technology along those lines, cybersecurity. And even if one is not a technologist, you can look at the intersection between humanity and the scaffolding that humans can provide in these emerging technologies and how they're shaping the world of the future. And finally, and this is a red thread throughout, even in your podcast, it comes through. You're talking not just about humans, but really thinking about perhaps humans leading decision making, but thinking about the entire planet, including other life forms and how important that is. One of the things you said fascinated me. And it's a little bit of a radical thought. You're talking about even the youngest people can potentially look at paths as coaches. And I know reverse mentoring has been something that's been developing, but you're talking about younger people having the ability to be powerful coaches as well. Can you share a little bit of a thought on that? All of us can learn so much from the fresh new thoughts that young people can bring to the table. I don't think it's common yet in organizations.
No, but if you think about, the qualities that make a great coach aren't necessarily qualities that come with age. I think they are innate things that you part of it is that you already have that kind of propensity in your nurture, if you like, or nature. But I then think you go through the training in order to recognize that those are skills and could be valuable. And therefore, I don't see why age means that you cannot be a coach. I know people use the word wisdom, but wisdom, I think that's tapping into the wisdom of being a human, and the fact that we have, as long as humans have been evolving, that wisdom is passed on to each generation. And so they carry that wisdom irrespective of what age they have. Again, there is a need for training, there is a need for accreditation in this space. But I think absolutely, I would love to see more younger people join our profession and see it as a profession that they can grow throughout their career. And what a rewarding life that would be if you were discovering that in your 20s, being able to live your career helping others, helping humanity. What an amazing opportunity. I'm excited about doing it now. But, wouldn't it be great to start doing it at 20 and have a whole life of care and value in our communities?
Absolutely, Susan. I love that. It's something I have frequently felt as well. When I did my coaching education, I remember thinking again, I wish I had done this eons back. I would have been a better human for it. Along with how profoundly impactful it is to feel like you're helping the world, helping societies, helping other people. I love that you recognize the value that fresh young perspective can bring, and how important it is that we have younger coaches embracing this profession and bringing change to the world.
And also think, it helps, if we have younger coaches in our profession, more of them, it would attract people who they can relate to. And, I just think it's a healthier thing for us to be we should be representative of the wider ecosystem of the world. And we're not there yet, right? So we're not there in terms of global reach, and we're not there in terms of demographics at the moment.
Absolutely. What's exciting you these days, Susan?
I think this opportunity, my whole career has been about digital transformation, how technology has served people within organizations. Now, what I see here in the coaching profession is now I'm in a profession that transforms humans, right? And so putting these two things together, I think I'm absolutely in the right place at the right time to help humanity, because we need human coaches, we need coaches to be helping people make sense of what's happening and to harness AI for the betterment of everybody. And this is the right space to do that in. So I'm really excited about what happens next year and beyond.
I love that confluence of human and digital transformation to build a better world for the future. Is there a quote, a book, or piece of advice that changed your life that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, when I saw this quote, it just epitomized everything that I am, that I live for, that I manifest, if you like. So it's a quote by Emily Dickinson, and it is, "I dwell in possibility."
I love Emily Dickinson, and that's powerful. I dwell in possibility. Perfect. For those people who are very interested in what you're doing and want to follow more of your work, where do you like to hang out? Where can they find you?
Well, LinkedIn, if you're doing stuff on social. And then I have my own podcast called Humane Org, and that can be found on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, amongst others. And actually, some hot off the press news for you. I'm just about to start another podcast called Humane Coaches. And the first one, I'm actually going to record the first one over the next couple of days. So that will also be out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, amongst others. So yeah, look for my name on those platforms, and I'm sure you'll find my podcast. And if you'd like to be on my podcast, either you, Kamodi, or anybody else in the listeners, please reach out. I'm interested.
Exciting. Humane.org and Humane Coaches. Two podcasts coming up. You can also find Susan on LinkedIn if you'd like to invite her to your organization. Susan, thank you so very much for this wonderful conversation. We are excited to support the work you do and to follow you on the podcast. Cannot wait to see your next updates.
Thank you. And thank you, Kamudi, for everything you've done this last year. I've really appreciated, since I met you the first time until now, I believe we've grown a good relationship. So I'm looking forward to what we can do together next year.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
As we wrap up today's discussion on the human conversation on leadership and ethics, it's clear that integrity and ethics are the cornerstone of leadership. Host Kaumadi Gowda thanks you for joining us in this vital dialogue. Before you go, hit that subscribe button and become a part of the community dedicated to ethical leadership. Share your thoughts and continue the conversation with #TheHumanConversationPodcast.